Well, I have a story to tell y'all today. Something what happened. I was actually going to the grocery store. And in the grocery store that I go to is actually a polling location. Now, we talk about all the time about doing the primary and getting certain people out or maybe certain people in on the primary. So I say, you know what? I got a grocery shop. It's the first day, like early voting for the primary. I'm going to go do it. Went in there, quick process, whatever. But as I went to walk out, they had a older white lady. She held the door open. I was like, I appreciate it, whatever. And then I got out, and then the lady just kind of stopped. She kind of say, I never come out this early to vote on anything, but it's just bad what's going on. And I'm like, yeah, from what things aren't as good as people thought they would be. I say, but now it's time to kind of status correct. And she say, yeah, because I voted Republican the whole time. And this is my first time like voting Democrat for everything. And I just can't do it. You mentioned her husband, like he's MAGA or whatever. And I say, well, what made you kind of change, your mind? I'm kind of curious. Because listen, if you open up the door of conversation with me, I'm still asking questions. You say, well, I was looking at like how, President Trump talks. And then when I saw the two shootings of Renee Good and Alex Pretti, I was like, oh my God, what has this country descended into? They're killing people. And so I kind of stood back for a minute and I say, well, I say in my community, we were talking about this for a very long time. We talked about people like I mentioned Alton Sterling. He's unalived in the same way that Alex Pretti was unalived. I said, did you know about the Alton Sterling case? He said, no, I know nothing about it. And so I kind of explained it to her and said, nobody said anything about it? I said, no. I say it was other people like Tamir Rice and many others whose lives were taken horribly and nobody said anything. And then she said this, well, sometimes people say, if they did the right thing or not, or I don't know, sometimes you don't know. It just kept trying to play, I don't know. And let's say she didn't know, right? Let's say she didn't know. But she didn't recognize about the police and what they can do or how they do things until it touched her community. You understand? Then she mentioned Trump with the Michelle Obama and Barack Obama, the head on the monkey thing. And say, I just can't believe he did that. I have friends that of course, they got friends who are black. And she mentioned Martin Luther King. And I'm saying, okay. And, something Emmy was telling me, don't do your thing. Just let her talk so you can really gauge where she's at. So I'm just listening. I say, oh, okay, yeah, I get that. Then she mentioned, right after that about, how they just not doing what they said they was going to do, and how a lot of them are scared because they don't know what's going to happen with the country. It's turning into a place they don't know anymore. And I'm listening to this lady talk, and she's being genuine. And you could see the fear in her eyes. You literally could see it. Like the woman was genuinely scared about the direction of this country. And I mentioned, because I know they travel, I just know. I said, other countries don't really have some of these problems. And she said, yeah, when I went to Malta, everything was so laid back and peaceful, and they didn't have none of these issues and problems. I said, yes. And then I went to Greece, and she mentioned all the places she'd been. I said, mostly EU countries, right? He said, yeah. I said, okay, cool. And hey, I'm happy she went to EU countries, actually. And she said, people look at us and like, they don't know like why we, our government's like this, and say, well, I told them not everybody, in America agrees with the government, but it's sad because people looking at us all funny and this. And I say, well, so what are y'all going to do about it? You say, well, we got to come out and change these politicians. We got to do it. We say, but I'm just so scared about it. She kept mentioning over and over that she's scared. And I'm like, and as a black American, I'm like, okay, the lady, like I said, the lady was nice. But here's my thing. Just two of y'all lose your life and you're falling apart? Really? Really? I personally know gang of black people that have lost their lives at the hands of the police in this country that I've been covering for sure since I started my platform. You understand? For years. The first major one that I covered was Trayvon Martin. And that's way, but what, 2012, around there? At least since back then, 2012. You fast forward to today, okay, that's what, 14 years later or so? My math could be wrong, right, or whatever. And this is, now you see it after all those years? They reported all this stuff on the news to Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown. Okay, definitely you can say, well, that was George Zimmerman. Okay, remove Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown. Let's start there. Where were y'all at during Michael Brown? Where were y'all at? You had another brother, Sam DuBose, over the years. You had Freddie Gray at the Baltimore Police Department. And then Marilyn Mosby tried to hold him accountable. And they railroaded her. Right? Alton Sterling, Eric Garner. It was so many people. Corin Gaines, Breonna Taylor. Who else lost their life in their custody too? Oh Lord, I forgot. I got her face in my head, but her name is slipping me. I'll probably remember it later. Here in Texas. God, I forgot the sister's name. Y'all probably type the sister's name. God, Sandra Bland. There we go. Sandra Bland. It's so many people that lost their life at the hands of these police or questionable deaths in their custody. And y'all didn't say nothing for years. Now you scared? Now y'all are worried because it's happening to you? Now you're worried because your job's getting messed up and you getting replaced with AI? Now you're worried because of the economy, because it's happening to you? But when it's been happening to us, you didn't care because you were good all those years? Well, maybe, just maybe, if you actually cared when we talked about all this, maybe this wouldn't be happening to y'all. See, this is a good life lesson to you. When someone is living in a country with you, you're not going to be immune to what happened to them. That's like when somebody live in your house and somebody in the house get the flu. Usually because you live in the same house as that person, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get it too. Unless they just stay in the room. They don't really come out of the room too much. You spraying Lysol constantly. You know, you wearing masks, whatever. Maybe you can avoid it. But usually if somebody bring the flu into the house or the common cold or whatever, everybody get it because they live in the same house. That's why. You can't avoid it because that's where you live. Hence to this country. You live in this country. You can't avoid it. You can't avoid what happens in this country because you live in it. But you did not care when it was happening to us. You didn't care when we told you about the jobs. You didn't care when we told you about everything wrong with this government. You did not care. And now, since it's happening to you, and now since you are afraid, you don't know what's going on in this country is turning upside down. We are like, that's a walk in the park for us. It is a complete walk in the park. We don't care about any of that. We don't care about any of that you're talking about. Because you didn't care about us? Well, why should we just break our neck for anything because it happened to you? Please, there's only 2 of y'all. We've got hundreds and hundreds of black people, thousands of black people that have lost their lives. Don't even get me talking about during the Obama administration when the most of that was going on, and he didn't do nothing about it. Nothing. But now you're scared because it happened to two people in your community. You know what I'm saying? That's why we don't want to hear it. But like I said, I'm glad I got to hear her talk. And like I said, she was a nice lady. I'm not speaking nothing ill about the lady. She was nice. But my thing is just to have the audacity to sit here and act like you didn't know what was going on in the country you live in. These cases I'm talking about were plastered on the national news. So it wasn't like a local story in Baltimore or a local story in St. Louis or wherever. No. These were plastered national stories. And you mean to tell me you didn't know nothing about this at all? Now, I know they all remember George Floyd. That's recent history, if you want to say that. It's recent history, what, about 6 years ago? But come on. You didn't know none of these major cases? I know you should have known Michael Brown. That was all over the place. You definitely should have known Freddie Gray, because it was an uprising. How it happened behind that. You know what I'm saying? Alton Sterling. They were showing all this stuff on TV too. These killings. And you didn't know nothing about it? But you telling me your husband watches Fox News? Fox News was showing that stuff. Fox News didn't hide any of it. But I guess now you saw the light about, the party, the Republican Party and MAGA and all of that. Now you getting some clarity now, I guess, because you feel ICE is taking it too far. Then she mentioned her housekeeper. And she said, yeah, I got a housekeeper. She's been working for me for 30 years, and she's an American citizen, but she walks around with her passport and how scared they are in her neighborhood, and I don't want nothing bad to happen to her and all of that. And I get it, because, she's been working for you so long. I get it. Trust me, I get it. But it's the same thing with your housekeepers community, because she's Latina. We told them too, hey, why don't we get together? Why don't we join? Reverend Jackson was saying the whole thing. Join together. Hey, minority coalition. No, didn't want it. Now you want the coalition now. See, everybody's starting to find out how this country really is. Even the folks. The folks are scared. They don't know what's going on. And the lady kind of talking to me in a way like, yeah, I just don't know what to do and how to make it. And I'm like, it'll be all right. I thought it'd be all right. You'll be fine. I said, take a vacation or something. I say, you be just fine. I say, don't get yourself caught up on all of the politics all the time. I said, just sometimes you got to block out politics and just live life. He said, yeah, I just got to do something, because I'm like, the lady, like I said, she was nice though. I didn't say nothing bad about her. She was not disrespectful or none of that. Like I said, I don't know why she talked to me, but maybe it was meant for me to hear, right? Because sometimes when doing content, sometimes it's great getting stories directly when you hear from people's mouth. But you being afraid, or y'all being afraid, this is the thing that y'all created. It didn't have to be this way. Black America been warning y'all forever about the police, the government, what they do with jobs, the corporations, taxes. We've been warning. Gentrification. Now you're complaining that AI data centers are going up in your neighborhoods and what they're doing to the environment. How often we talked about chemical plants being put in our neighborhoods and what they've been doing to the environment and causing cancer. You see, everything that we have said, y'all are literally getting it now. And y'all don't like it. Y'all haven't even lived not even a year of our lives in this country. And now you're starting to experience it. Your privilege not getting you where it used to be. It's not doing it no more. And that's a problem. For you. We never had a privilege, so we ain't got nothing to worry about losing. Everything for us is always on the up, because we are collectively at the bottom. Right? So what I'm saying, with all this is just simple. It's a new day, and y'all gonna have to learn. You have to take a stand. You gonna have to make some changes. It's a new America for you too, folks. It's new America. We built and prepared for anything that come at us, because y'all allowed the environment to be that way. Y'all could have stood with us. Y'all could have said, hey, we need some change in the laws. This is not right, what's happening to black people. maybe, just maybe, if y'all stood with us when we stood up, maybe Alex and Renee would be here today, and they wouldn't have to lose their life in that manner. But because y'all chose to ignore and say, well, it's not me, I don't care, now this is the result of everything. So what lesson have you learned from that? Maybe when black people are telling you something, listen. Just listen. And assist. Not take over nothing we're doing, but just assist. Use the privilege that you have. Because in the end, whatever happens to us is going to end up happening to you. And I know you can't stand that, but that's reality right now, and it is what it is.